Zoos have been a favored pastime for kids across the world since the first zoo opened in 1752 in Vienna, Austria. Zoos are somewhere as a kid you would beg mom and dad to take you because who wouldn't want to see a tiger or an elephant up close? Unfortunately, as those same kids grow up, they become more and more aware of how inhumane zoos actually are. Even though some argue that zoos are essential because they protect certain species from extinction, they are actually causing a greater risk for natural extinction. At the same time, many of the zoos' animals are killed off once there is a surplus of that certain species. The animals can also spread certain diseases to humans if they are used in a petting zoo scenario, and also animals have been known to escape their cages and put themselves and the guests at risk. One of the most notable arguments for zoos is that they actually have saved endangered species from going extinct. The ideology behind this is that zoos are able to provide the animals with medical attention, plenty of food, and that they are safe from predators and poachers. Unfortunately, this does not help the species as it is in the wild from going extinct. Sure, you might have an endangered black rhino in your zoo, but that won't stop the black rhinos in the wild from dying off to natural causes or being killed by predators. The rhino in the zoo or any of its offspring also cannot exist in the wild if they were released because they do not know how to hunt and they do not know how to protect themselves from the other predators. Secondly, for every animal the zoo takes from the wild, that is one less animal that could be in the wild reproducing naturally. Zoos are not the answer for this argument. Stricter laws and tougher enforcement on poaching are required to save the endangered species. Another problem with zoos is that at the end of the day, they are a for-profit business. Unfortunately, animals have an expiration date when it comes to making money. As explained in the hit Netflix series Tiger King, tigers are used as an example to show that tigers can only profit for the first 6 months of their life. At that point, they become too dangerous to do in a petting zoo and for the general public, and they also become more of a burden to feed and medically care for. The solution, in most cases, for these zoos is to have that animal put down. This also defeats the purpose of protecting animals from extinction because animals are still being killed at the end of the day, which is what is trying to be prevented. Another example of why zoos are a bad idea is because animals have been known to spread diseases to humans. For example, the world is in a national pandemic because a human was exposed to a sick animal at a market in Wuhan, China, possibly being the cause for the coronavirus. More common diseases that are spread from animal to human include E. coli, salmonella, and ringworm. Even though these are not as deadly as the coronavirus, they are still an annoyance and could be prevented by limiting animal and human contact. A final example of why zoos are a bad idea is because they create a risk for the animals and for the guests. Some exposures have open tops and are more or less pits than cages. It is very possible in some cases for there to be an accidental mixture of animal and guest. Perhaps the most notable occurrence of an accidental interaction that has occurred was when a 3-year-old boy climbed into an exhibit housing Harambe the gorilla at the Cincinnati Zoo. Fortunately, the young boy made it out alive. Harambe, on the other hand, was not so lucky. May he rest in peace. There are only a few examples of why animals should not be kept in zoos, but hopefully these ones were eye-opening and may make you think twice about your next visit to the zoo. Unfortunately, part of growing up is becoming more intelligent and understanding of your surroundings. The zoos you once loved to visit as a kid start to haunt you once you are able to realize that zoos are just in it for the money and are willing to go as far as kill surplus animals to make sure they make that money.